watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread TIPA's positive approach message around the world.
Well, hey, everybody. Good to see you here. We are actually live streamed tonight, as I understand it, on YouTube. So Matthew's in charge of that. We have a group in our Zoom room. That's what this group is. And some of these folks work with PAC. Some of them are friends. Some of them are certified team members that are, they have their certification. They're out there independently practicing. And then we have some folks who are living with people living with dementia. And because of that, we're all actually living with brain change. Our goal is to change our brains, and sometimes they change the way we run, and sometimes they just change suddenly on us sometimes. And so we have to sort of figure out what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, and what do we need to go back and look at again. So let's see. We've got Beth Nolan down this way, and she is one of our folks, and she's in charge of, okay, Beth, we've just had some changes of position. So what are you called now?
I have the title of Chief Public Health Officer.
Chief
So
Public
I
Health
think about that. Yeah.
I know. You're getting there. You're getting better at being able to say those words and sound like you mean them. Let's see. We have Rachel, who is...
I am the primary contact for people living with dementia.
So Rachel's primary focus is to make sure people living with dementia feel welcomed into our organization. They're called our core team. And we have core team ambassadors and we have core team participants. And we did a program earlier today. So we'll talk a little bit about some messages from the core team. We'll talk about some of the things we talked about today. And then we have Samantha Williams down this way, Williamson. She's down there, Samantha W. And Samantha, you are...
consultation coordinator and mentor.
Consultation coordinator and mentor. So we get a lot of requests for consults. And when people request a consult, Samantha's the one that gets it into the schedule and makes sure everybody gets set up to get what they are looking for. And that's a free half-hour consult. And then you can follow up if you want to do more than that. Matthew is our...
Yeah, so I am the director of the certified community. So I get to support, interact, and help to build our community out there of certified folks that are in different places and spaces all over the world, trying to bring the positive approach to care and all of those pieces that come with it to all the folks where they're at.
And then, yeah, so he's going to actually be out there in YouTube, paying attention to YouTube. Beth is going to be paying attention to the room, and Rachel will be actually giving us some of the questions and thoughts that people had asked about. But I'm going to kick us off actually with a couple of pieces of information from our core team when we met today, and it's called Let's Talk. And so usually I come in with sort of a question. So we talked about the weather a little bit. Because different people were having different experiences. And last time we met, someone in the group had suggested an around the neck flashlight. So you hang it around your neck and it has directed light, directed downward. For one of the group members, an older woman who becomes really sort of distressed when it's dark and she can't figure things out. And it's hard for her family member to know how to help her when she's up and moving around, because if there's a flashlight involved, it involves a lot of other stuff. So True, one of our members of the community who's been a core team member for quite some time, and has lots of different dementias going on, according to everything everybody can figure out. She has a mixed bag of dementias. Said, here's what I like. I like this around the neck flashlight. It works really well for me. I can use it and it helps me focus in on what I want to be looking at. And it's really helpful when the power goes out, because then I don't have to be afraid, or when it's really dark, or when I want to get up and go somewhere, I can see where I'm going and I can find things. And so, in fact, a daughter of this woman got the thing. And so her first thing when we got on the call was, Mom, that works really well, doesn't it? And it's like, yeah, it works really well. I really like it. And so if anybody has that potential where you're going to be potentially in the dark, you have someone who likes to be able to see what's going on and you want to light up a certain area, around the neck flashlight that you can have on and gives you plenty of light, but directs the light in and down where you're going, like for walking. Because we know people tend to look down, and that way you can sort of look and see where your feet are and you get rid of the shadows. So for somebody who's feeling that sense of, it may be something to consider, because certainly members of the team have found it helpful. And somebody else said it helped them read because it provided the light in just the right place to make it easier to read things. And I know, Rachel, was there something else? I bet Beth, can you locate it again? Because I think we found it online. If you would look for it and find it, it fits right around, it sits sort of like, what would it remind me of? The cool, where they have the fan things that you can have around, it's that size. I mean, it fits right there. It sits on your shoulders, not up against your neck. It's actually out a little bit.
And I will say from a previous call, yeah, it was one of the LED where, there you go, Samantha. Thank you. It was quite strong, but it was not overpowering. It was kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are two lights, one coming down from either shoulder. So it's an even balanced light from side to side as well. So Rachel may find a picture, or excuse me, Beth may find a picture of it and pop it up if she can share.
Yeah,
I know
Samantha did. She was fast.
Oh, Samantha did. Oh, Samantha's faster than you. Oh, now we know has faster fingers. There we go. So who can do the share? That's the question.
You could probably do that as well. That might be handy, right?
Okay. Oh, Beth, so now you can do that. There you
Yeah.
go.
I was thinking share was the link. That wasn't what you were looking for, was
No,
it?
I was actually looking for you to share the pictures.
So there's
people
actually,
can-
yeah, on Amazon is what I'm doing. You can see it's actually just a search result. By typing in, so if you get nothing else, by typing in around the neck flashlight
Yep.
was the phrase we used. This came up, and the neck light, so notice there's a lot of flexibility. And that's what I remember on one of our previous calls, because I wasn't on today, talked about this ability to sort of adjust it, to do one thing at a time, and then let go and walk.
Yep.
So I think that was a neat aspect of it.
Yeah, and some of them, I don't remember which ones have a variable light, so you can use the light, you can get different grade of light in it. So anyway, 3 brightnesses, that was it. That's the one that I have seen used before. So, and it's rechargeable, all that good stuff. So anyway, FYI, if you think you may have power outages, this may be one that's super comfortable then to have around for folks. You can do tabletop things. They would be able to look at things over the chair things, and they would not need to use their hands, and neither would you. So you've got flexibility. Okay, so a second question that I asked folks today was, how do you take in news these days? What are you doing? What media do you use, and how much, and how do you do that? And so as many people as we had on the call were the number of different answers we got. So much as we say you've met one person living with dementia, you've met one person living with dementia. So the group that was with us, these for folks who are from very early MCI through probably mid-state dementia. We have people with Lewy body, people with FTD, people with Alzheimer's, people with vascular, people with mixed picture. And so there's a whole host of possibilities. Some people watch only little headlines on their YouTube feed. So they use YouTube so they can select, they look at what the headlines are, and then they're done for about 5 minutes. On the other hand, we have some people who are news junkies, and they keep it on all day. In the morning, they listen to the news on their computer. And in the afternoon, early evening, they watch it on TV at 3 different channels. Yeah, so, but that's what they enjoy doing, and that's been their practice. They used to read the newspaper, but now they can't read newspaper. They can't do that. So they still like to consume, and they consume lots of different sources of news information. There is somebody who basically does a new feed, two different news feeds. So he gets both sides of a perspective, he thinks. And then what he's been doing lately, however, is not at all the news. He's got sidetracked. Guess what he's watching? What's been on lately?
The Olympics?
The Olympics. He has been sucked into the Olympics. So he is watching hours of Olympics, but It's very satisfying. So he's super satisfied with it. Basically, we have somebody who listens only to NPR because she feels like it's more of a balanced feed. But where she really gets sucked into it, enjoys, is the economics marketplace, because her way of feeling out how's the world doing for her is to listen to marketplace, because she's always had a really important read on economics. So for her, listening to marketplace is super helpful to how she feels about the world and what's going on. Then we have one person who reads the New York Times still on her phone, which I am like, sorry. But I'm thinking, reading the New York Times on my phone, gag me. It's such a small screen, and she uses black print on white background. One of the recommendations to simplify reading for some people is put the black background with white letters. So all you have to find are the letters, and everything else is blacked out. So it actually is easier to find the words on the page. But she just likes to read the New York Times. What one person does is whenever they hit the news where it starts to get to be a hot topic, they know how to hit the pause on the TV, and they do. And then they dismiss the TV. They don't pay attention to the TV until it's ready to be on something that they are going to be able to listen to again. We had one woman who has trouble because she and her husband are on opposite sides of the political aisle, if you would. And he likes to have the TV on all the time. And she can't think or function when the TV's on very well. And so the rule is when she's in the room, he can't have the TV on. But what does that mean?
Wow. I wonder if he's getting his needs met now as a caregiver.
Well, or yeah.
He doesn't want her around.
Well, yeah. She's actually not spending much time in the same room as he is. Because it's really hard, because he wants what he wants and she really can't do that anymore. So he does agree that while she's in the room, he won't have the TV volume on. But that means that it's an either or situation, not a shared time situation. So those were a lot of the things that people had to say. So I'm curious for this group, when you hear all that, what does that tell you about people living with dementia and the need? One person said they used to watch the news. They used to really be news people, and they can't anymore, because what happens is the person starts to misunderstand and misinterpret what is the news talking about? Where is it happening? Is it here? Is it, something bad is happening here? And so the ability to sort out what's news from around the world and what's happening right in our house is not able to be sorted. So what do y'all, when I say all those things, what are y'all thinking?
There's no template. It's not cut and dry. Yeah.
So knowing your person and knowing what happens with them is super important.
It's funny. I did hear one through point, except for maybe the last one, and I would want to explore more with them. But I found that, and I've heard this from a lot of my friends who are living with dementia, as well as my friends who are family care partners, that the world becomes a little smaller. But what seemed to be the through line for all these, except for the one person, and I'm just curious, knowing the group that's there, is they all found a way to stay connected. And I think that whether it's feeling the information, feeling like I know what's going on, and even when a guy switched from news to Olympics, when I watch the Olympic news, I feel like I'm seeing the world. So there's a feeling and sense of connectedness of what's going on almost,
Yeah, there was that idea of, like, oh, that's how I feel connected. Now, here was the interesting thing. In follow-up, I said, well, if you don't do news, what do you do? So these are some of the answers. Okay. I use Zentangle. I do art. I get on the treadmill and I use virtual reality places to go and walk. I do my exercises because it's online, so I can watch it online and listen to it while I do my exercises. I watch soccer and basketball. I watch sports. I do collages, which I never would have done before. So I started doing collages. One woman is doing library work, revising space because it's for school and it needs to get done. And so someone else has set the agenda and she's going through and doing the work that needs to be done in a pattern that makes her comfortable. So she's really engaged in doing this activity, but it's definitely something that she feels purposeful and valued in rather than watching a screen. So she's actively engaged in doing this thing. We have somebody who, she's relatively new to the scene, and she does swimming, emeritus watercolor course. She's taking an emeritus watercolor course online. She does hiking, walking, cycling, and swimming. So how many of you can keep up with that? Let me just say. Another person likes word search puzzles, audio books, and she's just started Tai Chi. She loves to take care of her houseplants and crochet. Simple pattern. Simple repetitive pattern. She used to be able to do complex ones. Simple repetitive. Double crochet over, double crochet back, double crochet over, double crochet back. People liked, one person likes to watch the highlights, but then she loves to go down to the waterfront with a full moon and her dogs. And she plays piano because she always played piano, and she's not as good as she used to be, but she still can do it, so she's doing it. And she's planning a trip by getting an RV. Oh yeah, she takes pictures of the full moon. Forgot about that part. And one person she always liked crime and mystery stuff. So they've been watching these series of procedurals, but they've modified it a little bit. It's not so gory, but they do like to know about that stuff. And she goes out, walks down a slope. Now she has lots of balance problems, walks down the slope and automatically gets in the boat. And when she does, she gets out of the boat. So she can get in and out of a boat, although she has trouble walking. So now that I've said all that, what does that leave you with for our friends? And this is a group of people that meet, like once a month to get together and talk about what's it like living with dementia. And I'll usually ask a question or two and then they take over. So what are you hearing?
There's a lot of living left to do.
There's a lot of living going on here. People are doing a fair amount of living.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of short-term memory abilities.
I know. I mean, people were, when I said, well, then they would just play off of each other and then support one another. And it's like, they were trying to convince one woman to vote. And she said, well, but I can't keep up with their words. I don't understand the meaning of some of their words. And they said, well, a lot of people are like that. But it was like, her problem is she really feels compelled to do it the right way. So she's not going to vote because she knows she doesn't get the words well enough to be able to be effective. So they were talking about voting and issues along the line of choosing to vote, not choosing to vote, needing support to get to vote, but making those arrangements and planning ahead. So it was, that's one part of PAC that sometimes people don't see, is that we have this side where people are living with dementia and we are supportive as much as we know how to be, and offer options. And at the end, we're part of a group that's working on a hospital training project because there's some push now to train people in hospitals to know how to do a better job supporting and caring for people living with potential of brain change while they're in the hospital, or actually having brain change while they're in the hospital. And so we're working with a couple other well-known groups to try to come up with something. We're going to propose it. But I suggested the last time that group got together, well, I don't hear anybody mentioning that we need people living with dementia on the group. And there was a pause. And people went, oh, well, yeah. I mean, oh yeah, well, yeah. We should probably do that. And I said, well, but I mean, where shall we get them? And I suggested a couple of options, and then one of our team said, well, why don't we ask the people and let's talk and see if they'd be willing to. Okay, we could do that. I mean, there's lots of options. But the thing that happens over and over again, and I listened to Dementia Friendly Hospital and program. It was about how Ohio and North Carolina meeting today with lots of people on it. And it was interesting. There wasn't anybody living with dementia that was mentioned when they talked about the Dementia Friendly Project as being active in presenting or being active in sharing what they found friendly. It was just, they kept talking about all the work they're doing, but it asked if they ever had people living with dementia that co-presented with them, or they used video of people living with dementia who were sharing back their insights of what dementia friendly did for them. And what your guys doing now is pretty much like, so yeah. Yeah, that was the read as hospital staff. We got some real work to do here. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I wanted to start us off with some findings from today and some activities that we have sort of cooking in the background. So Rachel, now we're going to open it up. We've had some questions that have come in. And if we run out of those, I was up in Green Bay and we asked people if they had any questions. And we have a few. So if you run out, I've got more.
Well, we'll keep that in mind. I don't think we'll ever run out of questions. Besides, I know we have people here that we may have time to check in with too. But we did have a question. So feel free to jump in. I'll kind of give a basic and then Agnes, feel free to jump in. But she was saying that her mother-in-law is in her mid-80s and she's living with Alzheimer's dementia. And she seems kind of like an emerald amber, very pleasant, very kind. She seems to have better mobility kind of earlier on in the day than the afternoon. And she's living with family. But they've run into an obstacle recently, and it has to do with incontinence. And so, in spite of their best efforts and kind of the biggest incontinence products that they can use, she's woken up most mornings with a wet bed and it all wet up and down her back. It did have a waterproof pad, which was very helpful. So usually this kind of happens once or twice in every 5 to 6 days, not every day. Once it was 2 weeks. And then I think there's some constipation involved. So they used prune juice, it worked. And thankfully she was outside when it happened. So then she blamed the cat and said it was the cat's fault. And the cat made a huge mess. So they're kind of trying to figure out, how do you deal with incontinence, especially in the morning? Good thing is that she doesn't seem to remember kind of the wet bed after a warm shower and a full breakfast. So that's a good thing. But do you have some ideas about that?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to back us up because there are 6 pieces of the puzzle and I am really curious about time. So I'm going to start with a question about time. And my question about time is, what time does she go to bed? And what time does she get up? More or less.
Okay. She goes to bed about between 8, 9
Okay.
in the evening.
Okay.
To help her go to bed, we gave her some melatonin. It seems to help her sleep through the night instead of waking up in the middle of the night and wandering around. So she's sleeping through the night hasn't been a problem.
Okay.
And seems to be in the morning that, yeah.
What
And
time in the morning? What time?
To typically wake up around 7,
7
between
a.m.
7 and 8.
Okay.
We do encourage her to go to the bathroom before to go to bed.
Yeah.
We also beside melatonin, we also gave her like half cup of tea, like the sleepy tea.
Yeah.
We typically try to give her to her like right after dinner, like 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
So it's like 2-3 hours before she go to bed.
Okay.
But they were nice that sometimes she didn't even drink the tea.
Right.
It's still wet the bed. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. So, okay. So let's see. We had, what time did the melatonin get given? Which I'm thinking probably early evening.
yeah, right. Around right after dinner.
Right after dinner, about the same time she gets the tea and the other things, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like she's staying asleep for about 8 hours or
Yes.
12 hours. Excuse me, 12 hours. About
8, yeah.
12, because she goes to bed at 8, getting up at 7, 11 to 12 hours.
Well, she will go to bed and lay down. I don't think she really fall asleep probably till 10.
Yeah, but in other words, she's supine. She's lying down approximately 11 to 12 hours. She's
Right.
lying. Okay, and she's going
Yeah.
into good sleep state by 10 p.m.
Somewhere around there, yes.
It's somewhere around 10, 10:30, 9:30. So she's in deep sleep. She's coming in and out of nice waves of sleep. She's not waking up. So she's coming somewhat alert and then going back into a sleep state, coming somewhat alert and you've watched her be still and then she'll move a little bit, but she's not getting up and waking up, which is great because she's getting good quality sleep. The challenge is her kidneys work a lot better when you're lying down and you close off other circuits. So she's not trying to process external data. She's not up moving around. So she's lying down and her kidneys are working super well. And all day long, the fluid below the level of her heart has been sort of accumulating because she's not as good at pumping through the veins to get it back up and out as she used to be. So when she lies down, all that excess, and it's not massive, but it's decent amount of fluid that's been accumulating below the level of the heart is now getting flushed out. And so she is putting out a bunch of urine. So her balloon during the day, let's see if I have any. Go ahead, Beth, if you want to talk for a second, or one of you other folks. I'm looking for one of my balloons.
Yeah, so as she's getting her balloon, I think she's going to demonstrate, for example, what happens to the bladder. If we can better understand, it sounds like what's happening. I'm curious how many of you guys, as you age, so not about dementia, but how many of you guys find, at least after menopause, or if you're in the middle of it, that your nighttime urination, it changed dramatically? So after you were supine for a while, how many of you guys have to get up soon after going down and laying to bed, go to the bathroom one more time? In that boat too. Mm-hmm. Women and men, if we do not talk about bodily functions, how will we ever know what is normal, what is usual, and what is something we might need to fix? So already I'm thinking that there's been a change post here. So now we've got the bladder example. All right.
So if I only put this much in the bladder, then this little sphincter muscle down here at the bottom, when it's lying flat, it can go, I can handle this.
There was a big neck there before when you just felt it.
Right. So we've got more in the bladder. Now that means we have more in the bladder, both above and below, because she's lying flat. And normally it would be like this. But now it's like this. And the bladder goes to the front and the back of the body. I mean, it fills up that space.
And there's no weight in that balloon. It's just literally air. So it's a little bit different. Interesting.
So what's happening now is the amount of fluid in here. This is stretching all the nerves around the bladder. And so there's nerves wrapped around your bladder, and those nerves are getting stretched. And they're saying, excuse me, we need to get this out because this is stretching. And this little sphincter muscle is going, no, hang tight. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. When you're asleep, however, this sphincter muscle is sort of not near as competent. And so when these guys get stretched, because I'm processing more fluid, and I don't have a chance, there's no way I can get alert fast enough to get up, make it to the bathroom. And so my brain just goes, forget that shit, I'm done. And it just lets it go because it's like, what's the point of trying to hold out on it? There's no point to it. So the body just goes, well, just empty. And so when it builds up, and so that's why she is holding on to it for quite some time. And the difference between 500 cc's and 800 cc's is the difference between whether she makes it through the night or she doesn't. And it really does have something to do with how much volume. The good news is you are doing a phenomenal job of hydrating her. And so the urine that she's putting out is weak, it's not strong, it's not causing irritation. The bad news is it's a lot. The good news is she's processing it. That's cool because it means all of her organ systems are working just like they should. The problem is her brain isn't quick or fast enough to pick up on the triggering of the stretching of the muscle that it would have happened when she was more cognizant. Because I have to judge, okay, Teepa, it's 4 a.m. Can you go back to sleep and wait till 5? Or should you get up and go to the bathroom? And I make a judgment call. I need to get up and go to the bathroom. Or I can make it, and then after 15 minutes, my brain goes, all right, fine, just get up. What the heck? But me doing that is me talking to my brain and my body. And what's happening now that she's struggling a bit more emerald amber is that her brain and her body don't always talk to each other very well.
Right. I thought, I understand that even I have to get up in the middle of the night, witching hour to go to the bathroom, but we didn't want to wake her up.
Mm-mm.
Then
Nope.
it will be hard to get her to go to
And
bed.
the problem is that she's not actually waking up enough that it would help you other than irritate her. You're absolutely right. Because
Right.
she's still deep enough asleep. Her messaging is not going back and forth to the brain. You and I wake up because the message keeps coming in. Excuse me. Hello, pay attention. And her brain is just going, it's all chill, man. It's all good. Which is good because it means sleep is always more important than continence. I will guarantee you, sleep is more important than continence. The
Okay.
tricky part is how are you going to get the bed continent? Because that's the tricky part. So what is she wearing now as an incontinence product? What are you wearing? What are you using?
Depends.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
we have the nighttime depends, which is
Okay. It's
which-
really pretty good. How many cups will it hold?
oh, I never really tested it, but
Okay.
they have one. Oh,
I'm
they
going to
have
show
one
you
for-
a product. I'm going to
Okay.
show a product, and I actually field tested this product. So hang on. And you guys are going to talk about this stuff. Beth, you may want to mention the melatonin, and we may also want to talk about what else can we do on the bed. Rachel, you have some experience on this. And I know maybe somebody else on this thing about what can you do outside the range of the brief that you put on her. But I'm going to go get a brief because I want to show you.
I want to turn it over to a couple of our family care partners, and because so many people in this room have more lived experience than I do on a nightly basis on this one. But I would throw us out with this idea of normalizing urinary incontinence. This idea of how many of my friends living with brain change early on, and they are still managing their incontinence or their continence, and they themselves have already very early on in the disease process gone to nighttime continence products. So I just really want to normalize that. And that's just the realm of dementia, much less those of the people that are out there that are managing nighttime incontinence. So I'm curious for our family care partners, tell me a little bit about what you guys have experienced. How usual is this what Agnes is talking about? So Sherilyn, you went off.
I'm back. So I'm interested to see if she's going to get what I switched over to. My mom lives in a community, so she would wake up and the sheets would be soaked, and that would be a big problem. So I switched to the Seni briefs, because I saw Tipa talking about that one day, and that's an extra plus brief with a pad in it. So sometimes we use those during the day if we're going somewhere, but usually I only use it at night, and that seems to hold a lot. In the new community that she's in now, instead of her going to bed early at 6 or 7 because they know that she'll get up again at 10 o'clock, they keep her in a recliner in the community room. And so she's in her recliner, and I don't know if this helps, but she's got her feet up, so she's partially, and then they make the move for her to go to bed at 10. And when they make the move for her to go to bed at 10, they say, hey, Sandy, let's go to the bathroom. And she goes to the bathroom, and if the timing's good, she doesn't even need to change her brief. I also switch from pajamas to night shirts because it's just a faster change and it's easier for everybody and less laundry to do in the morning.
Cool. So
as Tipa's bringing
Yes.
the study briefs, this is an example of one particular alternative to try. So go for it, Tipa.
okay, so I'm going to show you this brief, and this is the pull-up version. So I'm going to show you the pull-up version. I'm going to open it up because I want you to see the construction, because the construction may actually make a difference. So it's got some really nice stretch to it. But here's the construction that I find particularly helpful. They have a line, and this is hydrophilic on the inside, which means it attracts water, and this is hydrophobic on the outside. So it keeps the water from going through. So here's one, and then there's this second one that holds this up against the body. So this pad will absorb 7 cups of, you can pour it in at a fairly rapid rate. You can pour it right down in there and then turn it upside down. 7 cups and nothing comes out right after you pour it in. So it holds a good solid 7. Here's the really cool part though. Take a look at how many cups this one will hold. So this one holds 9 cups. So this is called a Seni Super Quadro. And it's a brief. You do put it on like an incontinence pad, like you fasten the sides, but it's a quattro. And so it is designed for heavy, heavy use people who need to sleep through the night. And so these products, I've seen others, I've tried others. I have not had ones that are as effective. There is a cost for sure, but it may be worth it in terms of laundry and stress, and how many you go through. So, yeah. So, Cheryl Ann, you were going to say something else.
So I'll say that the cost is worth it because you're doing less laundry. Also, I get them on auto ship, and the place that I get them from, I'm able to adjust the time. And so the other day I got there and my mom was still not out of bed technically at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we have to change her brief. But she didn't want to change her brief. She wanted to see who else lived in her house with her. So I was like, I kind of lifted up and I saw the blue tab on the back. So I knew it was the Seni, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I rolled her out in her wheelchair and I showed her the other people. And we came back in and changed her, and that baby was heavy, but like her bed wasn't wet, her nightshirt wasn't wet, like nothing was wet. You couldn't tell, but it was heavy, and she had probably had it on for who knows how long because it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I had a gentleman who, as we walked to the bathroom, it slipped off because it was so wet, but his pajama bottoms were not.
Right.
So, I mean, that was
it's
like
amazing.
Wow. I mean, it was really sort of surprising. But anyway, it won't always work like that. But I would say of any of the prices, any of the ones I've done, it's the one that I would hide. And the odor and the wick away moisture. When I've worn it, I put it on and I actually totally wet it. And I was able to sit on it and not go, oh my God, this is so gross. I would say, wow, this is really heavy.
Yeah.
Because when you
And
stand
it
up, you
does
go, wow,
feel
this is-
nice. Like, I think, bless her heart, I can't remember the lady from Sunny that was on with you, but when she was talking about how nice it feels, I was like, yeah, okay. And then the next, like, how do you know you're a care partner? You're feeling briefs going, wow, this is really soft. This is great. But it's true. And Tipa and I are not making a kickback from tonight.
No,
We've got to do a social media post on that where we're just gonna be like, you're a care partner when, and I think we should do one with our friends. You're living with dementia when. I think that would make great. But I will say this, so just to show that really this isn't some sponsored thing, but if you want to, let's feel, as they say on social media. No, I'm kidding. If in fact there are some people, so this idea of testing briefs is what I'm hearing. And it seems like there's a lot of ones out there that are for dribblers, just not the volume that we're talking about when it comes to living life, right? So I know that, for example,
with the nighttime sleeping is the one that's the most stressful because we do not want to disturb sleep. You don't.
No.
And if it means we have to try other things. So Christine online shared that she uses the disposable, like Depends, and adds a Seni brief or a Seni pad. So the idea and the creativity here, I know somebody else, a personal experience was, we ended up trying 4 different brands. So I stopped buying a big bag and I was buying like 2. And we went through 4 different brands before we found one that actually fit his body right. And so I think that's another piece too, is whether or not with different body types. So if younger folks or older folks, different body shapes, it was interesting to find the ones, and I was totally surprised which the one ended up working with him. So I think the other part too, but this was a really fit guy. So I think that's the other piece too, is trying to figure out what part is it? Is it the absorbency when you test it? Is it the shape and flexibility to the body? How much does your person move around at night? There's a couple of things that sounds like you guys have ended up having to explore here through trial and error. Is that right? Care partners, in other words.
Oh, yeah. You have to try something at least once. And really, like some of the places that sell Seni briefs and other products, they will send you samples. Like you'll have to pay a shipping fee, but they'll send you samples. And in a community, it was kind of difficult for me because I was like, okay, listen, I'm buying these briefs and they're really expensive and I need to know if they work. And so, it doesn't always work, but like I came in one day and they're like, these briefs are amazing. And I was like, fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Does that give you enough information, Agnes, to sort of try something out to see if it could be helpful?
Oh, yes, definitely. And I also have another question beside the pee liquid. She also has issue going number 2.
Bowel.
Yeah, bowel movement. And there was one time where she went on 2 weeks and her stomach was so big. We were like feeding her all kinds of prune juice, metamil.
Yeah. So what we know is that as somebody moves into the amber ruby state, it's not uncommon for the smooth muscle of the digestive tract to get less competent and skillful at doing peristalsis. And peristalsis ultimately is what gets the product from the small intestine to the large intestine. And if you take your hand and you put them down to your right side, down right at your hip, like put your hand right down there. And now bring it up. So you bring it up to right under your rib cage. And now go straight across under your rib cage to the other side over to the left, and then take it from your left rib cage and go down again to all the way down to right above your pelvis. And then that last little section is your rectal vault. That's where you store it. But what you actually have is developing bowel product from the moment that it goes into the ascending large intestine, transverse descending. And what your system has to do is push it along, squeeze it along so that it keeps moving toward the end. And with the whole thing, it takes about 45 minutes or so, typically, for a healthy system to get it all the way to the far end to where the sphincter, the little muscle at the end goes, oh, I'm feeling the motion. I'm feeling the desire. Oh, yeah, I feel that need. I think I could go. And then you have to go and get there and squat down. And then yeah, that's the way it works. And sometimes you have to overcome that. Ooh, this is harder than I hoped it would be. Shoot, I didn't drink enough fluid. Or, that idea that, wow, geez, this is really hard to get out. Or you're on your way and it goes, oh, and you're thinking gas or solid. And it's like, oh, that was gas. Good, good, good. Whew. Okay, that little fart thing, that was okay, because we're moving toward the real deal. It's all good. Okay, now let me relax. That'll be good. Let me relax. And what can happen is if it feels like it's pushing too hard, my brain goes, ow, 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 I don't like that. And it pulls back from letting it out. And so it holds on to it because I don't like that stretch. It feels like it's ouching, particularly if somebody has a history of hemorrhoids. So hemorrhoids or that difficult situation, then it's like, oh, I know, ow, no, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't feel good. And so the body is saying, I don't like that feeling of ow. And so it pulls back from relaxing the sphincter. And so the bowel product stays in there. And now there's more of it because you're shoving more of it down that way. And now it's building up. So it went from a product that was about like that to a product that's starting to get like that. And then it gets like this. And then it fills up to this. And then it's like this. And now all of that in there is trying to get out of a sphincter that's meant to open up about like that at most. And so when I try to get it out, now it really is hurting and I don't like it. So there's somewhere between 1 day to 5 days that goes from being somewhat uncomfortable to painful. And so what we don't want is we do not want anybody backing up because boy, oh boy, you can actually get to the point where the bowel will rupture or it will be obstructed. And then we need to like go up, dig it out, clean it out. It's really awful. So we want to keep it moving. And so one of the things we'll tend toward is certainly enough fluid, which you're working on, but it may actually require more opportunities to do something with a little more support. So it could be that creating, does somebody have hemorrhoids? So that, that is that sort of a question, like if there are hemorrhoids, can we do something about the potential of hemorrhoids? Is there a history of discomfort or pain when pooping? Because if there is, we get a problem.
Right. In my mother-in-law's case, she has no hemorrhoid, not that I would know of. And she used to be, I don't know how long has she been. I mean, we only realized that she has Alzheimer in past year, a year. So we're still learning her, and it's changing.
Yeah. Every time you turn around, you just think.
Yeah. So, so bowel movement issue has been past month, and we've been trying to work. I didn't know it's something we need to do. It's like it is going to become a regular issue. So.
Yeah. And so it could be, now some people will drink senna tea. Now, when you drink it would be something you want to think about because given her other things, people use a little senna tea, and senna tea for some people gets you regular. Eating prunes, drinking prune juice, for some people, that's a good pattern. It's enough. For many people moving through the later stages of dementia, though, it's not so much what's in there, it's getting it out is the problem. It's, like it's nice and soft when it does come out. It's not like it's super hard. It's just their brain can't figure out how to release that sphincter so it can come out. It's just really playing tough. It's playing hard to get. And so that's why some people use suppositories, glycerin suppositories, and it's sort of almost like a digital stimulation, which we use for people with spinal cord injuries, because they have to convince their bowel to open up so it will start to let it out, because they don't have the nerve structure left because of the damage to the low back. Often these are usually paraplegics, not quadriplegics, but you can be the case. And so you have to convince the muscle that manages that to try to let go. And once you start it, it usually is more cooperative. So my question for your mother-in-law is, does she feel that fullness and she's uncomfortable and she's trying to move her bowels, or she doesn't seem to notice?
Doesn't seem to notice.
Yeah, see, that's going to be the challenge then, because she's not going to be excited with you guys digging around or messing around her butt area. When she doesn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, right now it's 2-3 days, which is we will take it. It's good.
Yeah. And so Jeffrey mentioned a bowel massage. And so it's sort of I love you. So you go up the I and then the U and then the down. And while people are in, like you can do it in bed, it's like moving across and a down. You can do that several times. And what can happen is at that point, they start to feel the urge to go because you've stimulated enough. And with that stimulation, the brain goes, oh, bowel. So it's a manual support of the peristalsis that's not enough for the brain to recognize anymore. I mean, it's worth a try. I have certainly had success with it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Tons of videos of it on TikTok. Believe it or not.
Yeah, it's a very popular thing. All right, Rachel. Thank you, Agnes, for all those good things, because lots of different people got to chime in and participate. That was very helpful. All right, Rachel, what else we got?
So this is a different kind of question. It really has to do with sometimes things just get really hard. And it gets harder and it gets harder and it gets harder and it gets more frustrating. And you find yourself saying more than once and then more and more often, I just don't know how much longer I can do this. I just don't know if I can do this anymore. How do you kind of sort that out where it's just hard right now, or I just really can't do this because it's also taking a physical toll as well?
Okay, this is a tough one, but it's a really important one. I will say from the very beginning, there are some people that are just really not really great matches for people living with dementia. I mean, it's just not who you are. My husband will be an example of somebody, he's a wonderful guy. And if you need a computer worked on, you should call him. He will be absolutely spectacular at fixing your computer. He will also probably request that you think about getting up with him again before you push so many buttons next time. Because what you did was not particularly helpful to help him fix it. And, things like that, because he's very black and white. It's very like it's this or it's that. So for him, taking care of someone living with dementia would be a really bad match. I mean, it would stress him out tremendously because the unpredictability, the moment where it worked this time, it doesn't work this time. I mean, he would be incredibly stressed out. So we need to make other arrangements if and when I develop dementia. It won't be a great idea for him to be my partner. And he wouldn't actually be probably great to be anybody's partner. He can be a visitor. He can visit for a short window of time. As long as it's super tight and super small, he can do it, particularly if I give him some things to do while he's there. And the expectation is he gets out after 15 minutes. Or, he can go wash the dishes in the kitchen. He can he'll go do lots of things, but he's not responsible for a long period of time of sustaining a brain flexibility that's absolutely essential. So one thing we want to ask ourselves is, how flexible is my brain, and how distressed does my brain become when I can't predict what's going to happen next? How much can I handle of the unpredictability and the change, and the emotional loss of someone I'm familiar with, and the cognitive shifts that they're showing me that I'm having a hard time adjusting to. How flexible is my brain, and how is it not working for me? And then the final question is, how much do you actually like the human being that you're going to be supporting? And how much have you gotten to a place where I can't find a lot to like in this person? I'm having a hard time finding like. And if I can't find like for me, then it's not mutually beneficial in any way. Then we need to raise our hand and say, wow, I think I need a pause here. I'm not a good match anymore. I mean, at one point I was, because I had the flexibility and I was comfortable and I found enough to like. I think if we were better at doing this, we would not damage one another so much. I think our desire to push through it for way longer than possible. Sadly enough, the woman who joined us today on Let's Talk had taken care of her mom and her dad at the same time. They both developed dementia at younger ages, and now she has dementia at 10 years younger than they did. And it's like, huh. So she cared for them, and now she's turning around and she will need support and care. And she has her in-laws too. So, I mean, it's like, ouch. So I understand the desire to be helpful. I really do. But sometimes raising your hand and saying, I'm not sure I'm the right match for this. This is really stressing me out. It's legit, because it's not like one person is more important than the other. So if it's not a good match, calling it's not a good match, because the challenge will be, who will take care of that person if that person stresses themselves to such an extent that they start to have brain changes themselves, whether it's depression, anxiety, or a dementia. And any of those can happen. Yeah. So other thoughts, because that's mine, is it's probably time to go pause. We need to at least do a trial of something else to see how this plays for us. Because I think we're getting to a place where I can't find a lot of like. And so I think I need a break to see what happens if I take a break. Is it fatigue or is it dislike? Other folks, what's your thought?
I found working with caregivers that by the time they come to me, they're just up to here with it. They can't see the forest for the trees anymore. And they will kind of but you a lot. And I know I'm burned out and I don't want to do this. I really don't want to be a caregiver. But if I don't, then who and what, and kind of talk themselves back out of it again.
Yeah. And so sometimes people will talk themselves. And the question I have is, how fatigued are you?
Mhm.
Are you actually recovering enough so that you truly get recovery, or you're just not as exhausted as you were?
Mhm.
So are you finding true relief? Are we getting you to a better place for you? Because quite honestly, if we don't get you to a better place, all we're doing is robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Mhm.
And then we're going to end up having to take care of Peter, I guess, because we robbed him. So now Peter's going to need to get paid. And now we're going to have to go check out Ruth. Ruth is going to get robbed so we can pay Peter. And then we've got Ruth. Now and we've done this for generations. I mean, we literally have done this for generations, where we just keep going, next one, next one. And what we're saying as a community is like, wow, we need to look for alternatives. And they may not be great alternatives, but we don't need to sacrifice one human being for another and think we've made progress.
You know, I also find that they tell me they honestly don't have anybody to talk about this, to bounce this off of, because I don't want to bother anybody or my family, blah, 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 blah. So they honestly never had somebody straight up tell them, you got to do,
We got to really look at some options. Let's look at what the options are. You think there aren't options? There've got to be options. Because if you're ever dead tomorrow, there would have to be an option. I mean, something else would have to happen because you're not here.
Mhm.
So, let's look at some options now. So Cheryl Ann, you tried some hands-on support and care.
Not really.
Oh, you decided not to from the beginning.
Back in the day when when my grandmother broke her hip and my mother had to place her, my mother made me promise that I would never bring her into my home.
Wow,
So,
wasn't she a wise woman?
Well, and as we're sitting here talking, I'm just realizing that maybe that was also for her own benefit. Like she trusts me to be a KOA and take care of her money. But like last week when I almost ripped her foot off with the wheelchair while she was still in bed, like I'm not
Might
like
have been
I'm not
wrong,
like
maybe.
a physical caregiver. I'm the daughter that will go get certified with Tipa Snow and learn this and share it with others. That's more my skill. And I mean, we've
We
done
all
a
have
lot
our
of
part
great
to play.
we've done a lot of great things, but Monday when she didn't want to get out of bed and she finally got out of bed and we changed her and I did all this stuff, she looked at me and said, "Bye-bye." And I was like, she don't even want me here. Like, so I mean, she's like, sometimes when I talk about my mom, people think that she's like in early emerald stage, but she's like amber heading into ruby, I think. But and she's vascular, so she still remembers stuff. So no, I didn't try anything. I mean, I took her zip lining through the jungles of Honduras and horseback riding and stuff like that, but caregiving, not real. I mean, I can't say no because while we were doing our bucket list of staying at every Disney hotel in a pretty
I think you
advanced
did your fair share. Oh my
like
God,
I did my fair share of
that's a
caregiving.
nightmare.
Just
That would
one.
not be my job. Oh my Lord, what a nightmare. I took my kids once and said I would pay somebody to take them back. I would
Okay, good.
never
I'm
go.
available.
Oh, I'm all about it because I am never going back to that place again. Oh my heavens, that would be absolute hell on earth. It was the first time. Oh my.
Yeah, but I make sure that I tell people like don't ever make promises. You say it all the time. Don't ever make promises that I will bring you home, and don't ever make promises that you
I
will
will
put them in a
never.
facility. Because there are sometimes
Mm.
in a facility that I was like, this would be easier if she was at home.
Mhm. Yep.
But we just went by she made me promise that when I was 20 something. So here I am.
Okay, so that was a promise. She actually said, "This is my will, and this is how I'm going to do it." And
Yeah.
those are ones she didn't say you have to take care of me. She said you have to honor what you've said, which is, I don't want to live with you. I want to live somewhere else. I want to live somewhere else. And you said, okay. And I did that with my mom at hospice. It was like I was said, well, Mom, you can come home and we'll do the care at home. No, if I come home, I want to stay there. A moment of lucidity. It's like, okay, I hear you. So you're ready to go. I was like, yep. Yeah. And figuring out, wow, that wasn't about me. And sometimes it's not about us. It's about what is the person not liking about where they are and who's with them and what's going on. And what I may not be liking is my dementia. And we can't fix that dementia. So for some people, finding a new place to be where my dementia is less visible or less noticeable. For some people, being in a place where they actually are the best functioning person in the place makes them feel super competent because for the first time, I'm more competent than the people around me. I'm not a patient. I'm fine. These other people, I feel bad for them. I mean, they're in bad shape, but I'm in good shape. And so I try to help push them down the hall, and I talk to them at dinner time. I mean, they ask me the same questions over and over again. You think, funny, that's what we were doing at home. But all of a sudden, the abilities that somebody displays in a different place for a different reason can be really remarkable. And not everybody just gives up living when they're in a different setting. Some people find life in a different setting, and some people it's not a good match. But my request for people is let's try something. If what we're doing isn't working well, it's time to try something different. And we both got to evaluate how's it going for each of us. Because when there's at least two of us involved, both of us have to figure this out, whatever it is. And maybe one of us wants to go back home again. And it's like, me too, but it's not the home we've had. This isn't home anymore. This isn't, because when you get there, you keep asking me, you want to go back home. And it's like, well, we are home. Nope. So when that's happening, it's really a hard place for us to say, you know what, home isn't home anymore. The relationship I had isn't the relationship we have anymore. And so we've got to find the new place that we can be more comfortable. And that's the hard part. I mean, somebody today, I was on something, they said there was somebody who says there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. It's like, no, there can be two crappy answers. You don't like either one. But sometimes choosing something to try is the first step for change. And it doesn't mean you land there and you stay there, but it is a place where you land and you sort of check it out. And you have to give it a try because you don't know if you like that cookie until you bite in. And you got to chew it up. And then when you got it in your mouth and you're really going, oh shit, this is a crappy cookie. I don't know why. You have to decide, I'm going to wash it down with water. I'm going to spit it out. And I don't know which one you'll pick. Neither one is particularly attractive, but you've got cookie in your mouth. You got to make up your mind. I'm not liking what's in my mouth right now. What am I going to do? Am I going to keep it in my mouth? I'm stuck. I got to do something with it. Something has got to change because if I keep it in here too long, I'm going to choke myself. And that's not okay. If it's not working anymore, it's time to reevaluate. Yeah, I really do believe that in my heart, that it is time to reevaluate. And it doesn't mean you'll pick the right thing. It just means it's time to try something different because this is just going to break both of you. And you won't find you like the person very much. And little things will snap you. And you'll get snappy and snippy and unhappy. And then neither of you are living well. Yeah. Rachel, anything else on that front that you want to add or anybody else wants to kick in on this one before we shift off?
It seemed to me that so often the case is one person doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you have someone who you have a hard history with or you have a difficult personality, you really didn't like the person in the first place, and you're doing it because you believe it's the right thing to do, but you also don't have any help. And you oftentimes have family members or other people involved who are giving unhelpful advice that's only making it harder. So it's really easy to say, yeah, you should find someone to help. But it seems to me that a lot of those situations, there really isn't any help. And even when you look outside the box, there really isn't. So that's where I kind of go like, okay, but that is real life. And that is where a lot of people find themselves stuck. Is there something that you can do to help manage, I guess, or get to a little bit of a better place than where we're stuck?
Good. Yeah. So I think having somebody to talk with at least about, and again, that makes it hard because we've got to figure out how to talk about the misery and then find something light. Because I do think if we're going to hear a conversation, we have to say, okay, so give me one thing that isn't as bad as it might be. I mean, what is one thing that you have done this week that you feel good about? One thing. If you tell me nothing, we're going to be spending a long time here. Because we've got to think of the one thing that shifts this puzzle into a place that isn't absolutely black and awful and dark with no color. And sometimes it's, I got her to get out of bed. How'd you do that? Because, that was, you couldn't get it for 4 days. You got it on the 5th day. What was different on the 5th day? And we've got to explore something because you're stuck, I'm stuck, but we can work together to see where we can go with it because I hear you. We don't have another option except I am the option. And that's where finding someone to talk to. But don't find a person who wants to give you advice. You want to find somebody who's going to hear what's happening and help you figure it out. And sometimes it might be, can you run by the store? Oh, do you want to take her with you? No, huh? Just thought I'd ask, just to see what happened. Because now I have validation that nobody is present for me. But if I don't make the ask, would you take her with you in the car? I mean, actually, if you could drop me off at the store and you drive around until I get back in, that would be a help. How about if you take her to see the leaves while I run in the store? And sometimes it really is helping to figure out how to do this. And how to pull somebody in for a few seconds or a few minutes. Hey, postman, would you mind putting this letter and showing it to my mom and saying it just came in? I just wrote it. It's for her, but I want her to get mail. So ring on the bell and I'll bring her to the door. So sometimes it's little stuff that we come up with that might be able to make a difference. Beth, you were going to say something, I think.
No, I just really appreciated Rachel's question because I think a lot of times when I hear what we talk about, I see it in the UK, I see it in the US, I see our ideas working when people have communities with more resources. And so I think about my friends that have done care partnering in war zones and the way that they have found purpose and meaning, or there's an isolation to the level of not only is there no family, but there's no long-term or senior living industry in the country. And I think about the ways in which my friends, and I think Jill said it best, giving them a certain sense of purpose and meaning in life. I think that was such a key phrase because it wasn't just about the person living with dementia, it was all of us. So when you hit on this idea of, can someone at least validate through, and actually something I'm seeing where it did not go well with my mom, did it? So it feels somewhat better today to know how hard this is, or how my friends have been able to use internet or even very spotty internet to have phone calls with other care partners where they exchange ideas. So one of my friends was saying that the idea of just coming up with ideas, and the reason they listen to YouTubes is that they hear ideas and they're able to dismiss them because they're not going to work. They're going to work in America. They're going to work in Canada. They're going to work in Europe. They're not going to work in my country. But yet it is validating to say, yeah, you know what? None of those ideas are going to work because I've got none of that. Truthfully, okay, this is hard. Or it helps them spawn better ideas, other things they could try. And I think that sense of purpose and meaning, where are you finding it? If it's not with your person, if it's not inside yourself, because it is so hard, where are you reaching out and building a community of care partners of, or maybe even us, and I hope you're listening, and you're saying, boy, oh boy, aren't you guys privileged?
And our phrase at our brain cafe, not this Friday, but the last Friday, was we were talking about the number one. So we were doing things on the theme of number one. This Friday it'll be number two, not the kind you're thinking. I know we had our earlier discussion, but number one. And so we were doing songs about one. So now for just a few seconds on this call, let's just see how many songs that you can think of that have one in them. There's one. And so anybody have one right away that came to mind?
I don't know what the name of the song is, but it goes like, one is the loneliest number.
That's what I thought of.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about a certain group. Okay, yep. Two can be lonelier one than one that doesn't love you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what
so
else?
This one, I'm afraid we're going on some negative theme here, but another one, Bites the Dust by Queen.
Okay. Yeah, you guys were the
I
group
thought
that
of,
was at the party. So what else you got?
I've got this old man, he played Knick-Knack on My Thumb.
Okay, cool. What else? That's a good one. That was a good one, Sandra. Go with that theme, kids songs. Think of other kids songs.
There's a song by U2 called One, which is awesome.
In a positive sense, right? We've got One Love by Bob Marley.
There you go. Okay.
So kids song, you're saying, shoot, okay.
A kid song. Not to talk of my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6.
Pick up sticks.
Yeah, what's the first verse though? Now I'm taking you back. Let's see what you got. So what's the number?
Something about my shoe.
Good job. Yep, you're close.
Buckle my shoe.
Buckle my shoe. There you go. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. So we did that one. So we did several. And then we decided what our theme was for the cafe, final theme, because you guys got a lot of these. I mean, wild ones. You guys are coming up with them now. Here's what we came up with. We said, if you can't be with the ones you love, love's Love the ones you're with.
You're with. Yeah.
So we took away one and we made it ones. So basically, if you can't be with the ones you love the ones you're with. And so that's our theme for the cafe is love the ones you're with. Because what we can do, one more time. Oh my heavens, people, honest to Pete, I asked you for songs and you just get brutal. We had one less bell to answer as well. That one came up. Yeah. That's like, oh, that one's sad. Yeah, let's do another sad one. Oh dear. All right. So Rachel, back on track. But we've answered, I hope, the idea of really thinking about what is it that's making this really hard for me and what can I do for me? Because you are the person that we've got to really look after right now. How do we find some support for you in some form or fashion if you're stuck? And if you're not, it's time to make a change. And I'd say even if you're stuck, it's time to make a change in thinking, if nothing else. But sometimes people really need to read the writing on the wall. I'm just really not a good match for this. Somehow leaving an 8-year-old home with a trash can, thermometer, water by her bedside, saltine crackers when she has a fever, and say, call if you get above 105. I would say my mom would not be a good carer for somebody living with dementia. And I had plenty of evidence that was true when she basically told my grandfather that he just needed to recognize my grandma was dead. He could not find her back in Cleveland. You can't go. You were breaking into people's apartments, Dad. There's something wrong with you. Like, you got to quit this stuff. Yeah, that's when I became a good caregiver. Young, but given the option, my mom thinks she didn't have an option. Guess what? Turned out to work out okay. Okay, Rachel. What we got? We got 10 minutes. What do you got?
I wonder, do you want to go for one of yours?
Have you got anything on your list?
I think we pretty much covered, unless someone in the room has something that you guys like to bring up.
Okay. Here you go. Okay, here's one for us. What do I do when my dad imagines he had a conversation in which I told him where he could buy something, and then he wants me to tell him again? What do I tell him? Because I didn't have the conversation, so I have no idea where he should buy the thing.
Oh, shoot, Teepa, I think I'm losing it. So I told you, tell me more about that. I told you
Well,
something.
you said that I could buy the thing at this place, and then you said what it was, and you said where to get it, and now I need you to tell me again because I don't remember.
Oh my God, Teepa, I am so okay. So I told you about.
Yeah.
So tell me more. Is it something we worked with or something else?
Well, I don't remember. I just remember you told me where to get it, and that's where I'm looking for where to go to get it.
Oh man, I got to tell you, Teepa, I do not remember. I am so sorry.
It's really disappointing. I mean, you can't hold on to anything. I mean, honest to Pete, I don't know. You said it like you told me where you could get it, and then now you're telling me you don't know.
You know, you're right. I mean, and you know me with my stupid sticky notes and notebooks. I've never been able to hold on to crap.
Well, I know, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is.
I
just want the thing that I talked about, and I need to know where to get it.
Tell you what, let's take a look at my date book, because if it's anywhere, it would have been there.
Well, you and your damn date book, I just want to know where to go get the thing.
I wish I could. I do not remember.
Well, where was the regular place then?
Now, normally when we get things, is it at the hardware store, or are we talking more like?
Oh, it's not going to be the friggin' hardware store. Why would I go to a hardware store for this?
No, you wouldn't, would you?
No.
I wish I could help you.
Okay, we'll pause for a second. What's the biggest challenge here for Beth?
I'm sorry, it's not working, is it? The admitting that I have no clue what's going on is not really de-escalating the situation.
What's the problem?
Can't figure out what that is. What's that missing piece?
We're not able to know the thing because I don't actually know what the thing is. I don't know what the thing is. What I want to do is do what? And this is what we're missing. What is it I want to do?
You want to go get it.
I
You wanna
want to
go.
go somewhere. I need to change place. I need to get out of this place. I don't even know what it is, but I need to go look for something. I need to get going. I just need to get moving here. Because are you going to be able to figure it out? Is it about what you remember or don't remember, actually?
It's nothing to do with
What am I
me.
looking for?
So you stay and get moving instead of standing around talking about it?
I need a place to go. I need something to go do. You know what? Let's get going. Let's go see if we can figure out. We'll just drive and see if we can't figure it out. So if I'm stuck here and we can't remember, Beth, I mean, because she didn't even remember that we had the conversation, because as far as she knows, we did not. I think we did, and I can't remember. I don't even remember what it was I was looking for. So part of the problem is I don't have the language and I don't remember, but I remember there's something about going and getting something, and that you said something about, now, could this really be that Beth said, you know, tomorrow I've got to go to the grocery store? That was it. She said, tomorrow I got to remember to go to the grocery store tomorrow.
Or Mom, we got to remember to get your medications.
Oh,
I could have
okay.
said that.
Yep. And it was an off the cuff comment. To her, clearly, this is not a conversation that we had. To me, I remember she asked me something, and she said something. And now my brain is like, yeah.
Teepa,
Yeah.
listen, tell you what,
Yeah.
I've got to go to the grocery store. We've got a
Okay.
bunch of stuff we got to get.
Well, all right. But I wish you'd remember where I was supposed to be going.
I do wish I do. And you know what? We'll go to Myers because it's got more than just groceries. I'm thinking something might jog our memory.
Oh, okay. Well, that might work, but I don't know that that's where it is. But
It might not be. Come on, let's go.
Okay, what do we need to get at Myers?
Well, I've got a list here. So tell you what, let's grab our jacket.
Grab the jacket. Where's that?
Jacket first.
What jacket?
This jacket here or this one?
Oh, well, no, I don't need one, I don't think.
All right, tell you
I
what.
need the other thing.
You need the other thing. You do.
So how long, so this is that, like you said, that's the moment where you're going, oh my God, could this just be simple? Why is this so hard? Why is it one thing after another?
And already, I'm already letting go of whether or not this is actually we're going to get to the grocery store. My list is with me just in case. We might actually get there and do some stuff. But tell you what, this afternoon, it may not be anything other than getting outside.
Mm-hmm. But if we change places and we're outside, I might see something, might notice something, we might find something, we might drive by McDonald's and I say, oh, that was it. And you go, you want to go to McDonald's? Are you friggin' kidding me? You never go to McDonald's. But in this moment, it's like, okay, we're stopping by McDonald's. What can I tell you? Because in that moment, ooh, ooh, ooh. If I go, ooh, 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 because that's all I got. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, Beth is doing a lot of mirroring and sort of supporting, which is what she can do. Sherilyn, what you got?
And she might not get out of the car once you get there.
Nope. Nope.
That's happened more than once or twice. Thank goodness
coffee, dark
for
roast,
those
no
Burger
cap.
King
I got it.
drive-thrus.
It better have milk in it too, just so we're clear.
It's interesting. I recently had a friend that was talking, actually a mentor of ours in Malaysia, that she was asking advice about rearranging and getting more things in her living room. And her mother is at a very different place in dementia. And she spends most of her time either in her bed or in the bathroom or maybe at the table. But now she's pretty much eating a lot of times in bed. So now the living room has become a whole different world. So she ended up getting a fish tank. And so now they've got something else to look at. Distance outside is too far away, almost with vision. It has truly become the other place they go to. And it's been just completely mind altering, I think, for both of them. I haven't checked with her in a couple of weeks, but I want to find out where they're at with it.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not a particular thing. It's just that I'm tired of being here and I don't know how exactly to say all that. And so I get as one of my friends calls it getting spicy. I get spicy, which is sort of like, okay, I'll use it. You get a little spicy, which is like, it's like, okay, well, if this is causing us distress, then it's time, it's time to try something different, because I'm not going to solve this with figuring out what it is we talked about, because I don't have enough words to help you, and you can't figure out what I'm making up, because my brain didn't make it up out of nothing. It came from something, but it's always so awkward. Ay, ay, ay. It's so tricky, this stuff. So, well, there you go. That was one question. As you can see, we're not going to run out of them. We're going to be answering some more at Time with Teepa in the morning. We have quite a few to answer tomorrow. But we have a nice stack, I'd say, offhand. And that's just from one talk that I did in Green Bay. Although there were close to 500 people there, I will say that. The Forget Me Not Fund did a great job of bringing people together. And they worked really hard to make sure it was a good day for everybody. And from all accounts, people felt like it was a good day. We sang a lot, among other things. We also learned a lot with each other. Matthew, anything you want to add to the equation from being out there in YouTube land?
Teepa, nothing to add to the equation other than a big thank you to all the folks who shared out in the chat. I did pass those messages on to the team so they could see those. But definitely huge thank you to all those who did that. And for those who have hit like and actually shared it out as well, because you never know who you share it out to. That might have been exactly what they needed to hear that moment for them. So please hit that share button and get it out there, because that really helps to get the message out even further than just what we're doing tonight.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll talk again soon. Be well. Take care. If you have questions, always send them on in. We'll do our very best to respond.